Okay, so this video is meant to show you how to wire your motor to the extension board. Our motor is pretty straightforward. It's got a ground line and a voltage inline, and connecting that's going to cause it to just rotate. Now, if we flip the connections, it'll just rotate the other direction. So we're going to stick with the normal that the black wire is the ground wire, and it's going to be our ground, and our red is going to be our voltage in. Now we're going to connect our motor to the relay. And remember, the relay is an electronic switch that we can program, we can code that it's on or off. And when we code it to be on or off, it will then in turn allow something else to operate. And so in this case, it's going to allow our motor to operate. So we have to wire our relay. Remember, your relay has 3 pins here that are pins that stick out, and it has 3 holes on this side. And so you're going to have to use those wires that have a pin on one end and a hole on the other end, okay? So I'm going to start by wiring the pins on my relay. And so the signal pin on my relay is going to connect to pin 1. The voltage on my relay, or the VCC on my relay, is just going to connect to VCC on my extension board, and my ground will connect it to ground. Okay, here I go. Okay, so that takes care of my relay module on the pin side. Now on the hole side, I have 2 holes that I'm going to connect, COM and NO. And so for my COM is going to get connected to my red wire on my motor. And my NO is going to get connected to the 5-volt line on my extension board. Now notice that this kind of cell is red. We are not going to just put that on the VCC. We're going to go particular and go to a 5-volt pin. There are 3 5-volt pins right here, and there's one over here. We're going to just stick with the one that is like the column of 5-volt pins. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wire the other side of my relay module. Okay, so now I've got my relay module connected to my extension board, and I have part of my motor connected. The last thing I need to connect my motor is I need to take that black wire and connect to a ground. And you can connect that to any ground in your extension board. Okay, so that is how you would wire the motor relay module to the extension board. Okay, so this video is meant to show you how to wire your DC motor, and we are going to use the relay to not only control our DC motor, but also to allow us to give a little bit more voltage to the motor, because that's what it's going to need. Reminder, with the relay, there are 2 sides of it. There's one side here with the traditional pins that we are going to use the wires with the holes in the holes, and then the other side has holes, and so we're going to have to use the wires that have a pin. So you are going to need one of these wires that has a pin and a hole. And the other wire we're going to use to connect to this is just a piece of bare wire that you would find from your electronics bag that had the light bulbs and the resistors. And this is going to actually allow us to connect our motor, because our motor wire is a hole, into our relay. Okay, so we're going to start off with connecting the pin side of our relay. We have a signal line that's going to go into pin 1. We have a positive line that's going to go into the VCC, and a ground line that's going to go into ground. Okay, here I go. Okay, so I've got my relay connected to column 1 essentially on my extension board. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect the other side of my relay to both my extension board and to my motor. So for the COM on my relay, that's going to get connected to the red wire on my motor. So my red wire, I'm going to use this little metal piece, this metal wire here, and it's just going to get connected. Try to see there. Okay, and then that's just going to go into the COM line here, and just push it in there. Okay, and then the black part of the black wire for my motor is going to just connect into the ground line on my extension board. And then I'm going to take, remember, my special wire that has the pin and the hole, and the pin side of this wire is going to get connected to normal on the NO connector there.
And then the other side of this is going to get connected to the 5-volt line on my extension board. So for the 5-volt line, I'm going to be accessing this column here that says 5 volts. Kind of hard to see. So it's this column right here that I'm going to get connecting to next to my buzzer. And I'll just go ahead and connect to the 5 volts there. Now, to start up my motor, I need a little bit more energy than what the USB from the computer can actually supply. So I'm going to plug in my external battery. And then I'm going to also plug in my microbit at this point. Now, the way that I have wired, or rather, the way I have coded my microbit is that when I press the A button, it's a little hard with all these wires. When I press the A button, my motor will turn on. Ooh, and when I press the B button, it turns off. So that's kind of fast. And so remember that you looked at the idea with electricity that I can actually add a resistor that will consume some of that voltage. So instead of using this wire, remember this, oh, it's super hard. Let me see if I can adjust my light. Instead of using this wire here, I'm going to use a resistor. This is a 10 ohm resistor, but it fits nicely in there. And I could plug it into the COM. And now you'll see a difference in speed. Nowhere near as fast. Okay, and my button B in my code turns it off. Okay, so that is how you would wire the DC motor with the relay to your extension board. Have fun with it.